Welcome to part two. I'm back with Anthony Jacquin. Marvellous.
Hi.
And we're also joined by Kev and Amit, who are going to be discussing some of the magic with us. Amit, do you want to just introduce yourself to the people at home?
Yeah, my name is Amit Badiani. I'm a professional magician and a hypnotist. I got trained by Anthony Jacquin in hypnosis and hypnotherapy.
Fantastic.
And I also attended the first Manchurian approach.
Okay, the course, the weekend course. Yeah.
And I'm out there every week mixing magic and hypnosis up, and I absolutely love it.
Brilliant. Marvellous. And Kev as well, who works with Anthony, yeah?
Yeah, my name's Kev Sheldrake. I've been working with Ant for 5 years now on head hacking, which covers all of our performances from stage to the street hypnosis, television work, and I'm the other trainer on the Manchurian approach.
Marvellous. So we're all here, and we're going to get into some general discussion about the magic and hypnosis. In the previous part, obviously now, Anthony, we've gone over the actual hypnosis side, how to put people under, how to safely bring them out again. And now we're going to get more into what you're going to do with that in terms of a magic performance. Yeah. So I think it would be good for people watching if we just start with an overview of what we're going to kind of get into on this and the types of effect we're going to go for.
Sure. I mean, just to say, first off, when I first started performing, although I was already a hypnotist, I started performing with mentalism.
Okay.
Yeah, and it just seemed like a natural step to start using catalepsy, sticking people's hands to tables, and that kind of moved into stealing a watch and forcing a card, right, and this kind of stuff. So it's kind of a natural progression. So what we're going to look at is, firstly, just how mixing up the two, using some hypnosis as a selection procedure, or even some of the standard fare, some of the standard routines of hypnosis can just dovetail straight into a magic act, and it seem like something that you may well be able to do, and it's just accepted by your audience.
Yeah,
in fact,
indeed.
It raises a lot of interest. But more specifically, we're going to look at how you can use the phenomena of hypnosis, amnesia, hallucinations, time distortion, all this kind of stuff, as a magician. So to actually, as the method, if you like, to achieve what it is you want to achieve.
Right, and that's also like in terms of, whether it be in real time, but also we're going to talk about pre-show work as well, hypnosis, in terms of mentalism.
Yeah.
Now, Amit, I know you do quite a lot of close-up magic as well, so this is kind of going to be good for people watching, because I guess there's a lot of close-up magicians watching, maybe mentalists, so
sure,
we're going to talk about mixing the two together as well. I mean,
sure,
maybe using, we touched on it briefly yesterday, the idea that, if you're going to go up and do some hypnosis stuff, you can bosh a deck of cards on the table, get into some of the set pieces, and, then draw back to it later on in your performance.
Yeah.
And when you mention, I want to highlight watch stealing there, this is not watch stealing in the typical pickpocketing sense that we're going to be talking about on here, is it? This is a completely different type of watch stealing.
Yeah, I mean, what I found is that it's certainly not Chappie Brazil. I've got a lot of respect for his ability to steal people's watches, but I tend to do it much more openly. So either in the process of doing an induction, I might grab hold of someone's wrist, their arm may become numb. At that point, you can, if you've got the ability to remove a watch, you can do it and they'll be none the wiser. You can make their arm completely numb so they can't feel anything, they'll acknowledge that, and then you can just blatantly take it off.
You just take it off with two hands.
But my preferred method is to tell people that their belongings belong to me.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of people ask about, can you make people do things against their will and against their best interest and this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
And I really see the will as something that you work with. So you change the belief that the person has. Again, as we said before, their reality changes.
Yeah.
So if I say to you that rather lovely tie belongs to me, and you've had it for a few months, and you're keen to give it back, then your will's going to come in that direction. You're going to say, "Oh yeah, I've still got it," and you're going to hand it over.
It's not like stealing a tie. You are just they're going to blatantly and willingly
give it to you. And I've done that with coats, with keys, with watches, with wallets, with all sorts of stuff, where people just kind of hand it over because it belongs to me.
Marvellous.
And the point is, you could leave that person with that belief for a minute, for an hour, for a week, for a month, whatever.
Right.
So yeah, the potential for pre-show is great.
There's some really nice
extreme flexibility.
There's some great reviews, certainly with mentalism. In terms of just to get a bit of an overview now, what are the kind of the main areas we're going to look at on this in terms of like the actual kind of effects? I mean, we've got peaks, forces, and that. Let's just go over what they're going to be.
firstly, think of typical methods of the magician, forcing some information or an object on someone, peeking some information, getting kind of one ahead, knowing something that you shouldn't.
Yeah.
We're going to look at some what I call generative suggestion, so a single suggestion that can be used to do a multi-phase reveal. And in the case or the example I'm going to give you, we're going to use that for a mind reading effect.
Okay.
Something we call reverse mind reading. Again, once you understand that you can hypnotise and how literal suggestions are taken, it's going to start to seem very obvious how you might use a hypnoforce and a hypno-peak and reverse mind reading, and how you can use amnesia and other bits and pieces as well.
Let's talk a little bit about the reverse mind reading, because this is something that I've only ever seen you do. I know you guys sort of worked on this together. I know that you perform it as well, reverse mind reading.
Yes.
Because it's slightly different to what I sort of thought to be like mind reading with hypnosis, where you would put someone under, ask them some information, give them amnesia, and then have the ability to give it back to them. The reverse mind reading is completely different to that, isn't it? I mean, this is very much more direct.
Yeah, well, I think it's more direct. I mean, again, a lot of people kind of assume when they see this that you have done what you just said there. You've hypnotised someone and you've asked them a load of questions. You've noted down the answers. And you've got hold of that information in some way, and that you're just feeding it back to them. But reverse mind reading is much simpler than that. You simply tell the person that
actually,
you can...
and what's interesting is when you watch it, and we talked about this, I think yesterday, is the idea that if you think that even if you're watching it as a spectator, you think maybe he's hypnotised and maybe he's got information out of them. It's like you said, it blows it out of the water when you go for these random long numbers and the really long words, because there's
really big choices. It starts to look like a force.
It starts to look like, you think, well, hang on a second.
Yeah, multiple forces, multiple peaks. The methods start to break down. I mean, as a routine, it came out of the idea of trying to create a two-person mind-reading routine.
Right.
More as an intellectual exercise at the time, but if you wanted to have one spectator read another spectator's mind, how could you set that up with hypnosis in such a way that it just works without having to instantly stooge people, etc.? And so obviously we hypnotically stooge someone.
Yeah.
And the way it works is you say, this person, I or this person is mind reader, and everything they tell you, you'll believe at that moment to be completely and utterly true. And you'll be more and more amazed with every revelation.
So managing their reaction is quite important.
Yeah, which is something that came out as a general principle after creating this effect, was that, well, actually, you really, when you are stooging people hypnotically, either pre-show or whatever, you should tell them how you want them to react, because in general sense, in their head, they may well be bouncing off the ceiling with their, I can't believe you've just done that, that's amazing. Yeah. But they may just have a very muted physical expression.
So you're also kind of within this as well, and I suppose with any kind of thing where you're going to do an effect using hypnosis, you're kind of also managing what their reaction is going to be and kind of suggesting what you want that to be. So you do want a very visual reaction to this stuff as well, don't you? I mean, because mind reading can be a very one-to-one kind of slightly quieter reaction in some things, but certainly like when I've watched you do reverse mind reading, and also when you was doing it in some of the live stuff, and you was doing some of the stuff where you would also like suggest a word, and that the reaction is that much more kind of whoa, because it is as close to what real mind reading would look like. Someone thinks of a word and
also most people have heard of Derren Brown.
Yes, I mean you use that as a lead-in line, don't you? Now, which is a great idea because it sets it up for them. It relates to them, I suppose, in a way which they understand. Sure. But you are just getting right to this point where it supposedly looks. I mean, imagine if you do this, and if you do this pre-show. I mean, it's even stronger. You're walking up to someone supposedly never met them. Think of a word, or you start telling them this information, and it's just bang, bang, bang. It's just direct. There's nothing written down. Yeah. There's seemingly no other props.
And there are ways. There are some subtleties that allow you to kind of to miss as well, to get things slightly wrong, to take a bit of a punt and to get it wrong, but then the suggestion will still stand up after that. It's
well, that's the thing with something like reverse mind reading. This is a theory that's sort of banded around in mentalism a bit. Is the too perfect theory, and I suppose if you were to just say to someone, you're thinking of this word, you're doing this. It's although it's is direct and they will react to it. It's so clean, but having the odd little miss in there just helps to add to the realism of it. Because what you've got to remember is it's a performance piece as well. So you want this to be as believable as possible, especially if you've done maybe the hypnosis pre-show.
Yeah.
You know, but also by the same token, you know, with reverse mind reading, just because you can say something, you're thinking of the word house, you're thinking of the letter E, you're thinking of the number 4957. You want to give it some performance, so you don't just want to reel it off like that. You can, you know, you give it a little bit more.
You still need to
to make it.
all
Yeah,
the
You can, you know, whatever suits your character, you can retrieve those details. You know, you ask them to think of a photograph, you can retrieve that however you want. You can say, and it's outside, and there is somebody else there, isn't there? There's something you're playing with. You know, ultimately, it doesn't matter what you say. It's just go, yeah, how do you know that? How do you know
you
that?
can just build this photo as you go along.
Yeah,
just
you
go.
can.
And the nice thing is that general suggestion that they're going to get more amazed with every reveal.
Yeah.
If you do 15 reveals to come up with the photo they're thinking of, then
By
by
the
the
time
time
you
you
get to
reveal the 15th and what it is and where it is, they're
Yeah.
like, you know, which is kind of what you want, and it's fair, I think.
Yeah.
If you were a genuine mind reader doing this in a bar, completely cold and picking up information, you would get more amazed every
Yeah,
time.
of course you would. You
Because
build
it's
it
like,
slowly.
yeah, it's
Because you've given them the suggestion that they just won't remember what you've told them.
Exactly.
And then once you reveal that word or that picture, what they're thinking
and kind of
about.
the gag of the routine is that it starts out sounding like some dodgy cold reading.
Yeah.
So, which to the general public, if they don't know about cold reading, it kind of passes them by, and like, you know, you've got a scar on your left knee. That still seems like a revelation to people,
But people will still, you know, sort of go, yeah, I have, and kind of put their hand here, and then, yeah, how did you know that? So let me just talk to you a minute, Amit, because I know that you use hypnosis a huge amount now in your magic performance. I mean, do you use it? Is it something you use all the time when you're out working now?
Definitely. I'll approach a table.
And you will go in as magician and hypnosis.
Hypnotist, yeah.
So for people watching that maybe are looking to do this and have got this DVD to do that, how long did it kind of take you to kind of get that integration, or did you just sort of get out there, start doing it, and just it developed from there?
Well, I originally got trained in hypnotherapy
Right, okay.
by Anthony, and then just went out there and just tried the street hypnosis. And since then, that's how I always start. Hi,
Right.
guys, I'm a performer. I'm an entertainer, I'm a magician and hypnotist. Do you want to play some games?
Do you want to play some games?
Yeah, and whether you go into a set piece or even a magic trick.
Yeah.
and on the
It's still
Saturday
slightly undefined, so it could go anywhere. And there's, I suppose,
Definitely.
there's that level of intrigue there.
That's
you
the
know,
beauty of it,
what's
yeah.
he going to do? You know, even if you're kind of like a hypnotist and you get someone that's maybe a little bit more standard, but he's a magician as well, I'm interested. There's this intrigue about that, and they're going to
and those people will start to kind of float to the top. They can't help it.
Yeah.
They cannot help it. If you've mentioned hypnosis and the idea has been seeded that someone here could get hypnotised, you will find certain people just lock onto you, become fascinated,
Yeah.
and ask you the question. It might not be at that table, but it may be later on. So just put it out there. You know, whether you don't have to. Yes, it's a natural fit for mentalists, but it's a hell of a lot of fun and can be used just as well by close-up
as you
card
saw
guys as well.
on the Saturday night of the Manchurian course that you came on, a lot of the guys were opening up with close-up magic and weren't really doing any mentalism, but it was flourishes and cards appearing in their mouths.
Or
and things like
pickpocketing,
this.
you know, you can get into it that way as well.
Yeah,
It's,
indeed.
You know,
But it opens up, and you know, you all completely owned it in the pub. It was, you know, tables were queuing up to have magicians come over, and the thing they all wanted to see was
this magnetic fingers. Yeah. I don't want to see that fantastic flourish. I want to see this happen. I want this happen to me.
But it is a great thing to see. You know, it's kind of like you see cards on telly all the time. You rarely get someone going, I'm going to make something really happen. You know,
People are really interested. One thing I did notice, sort of watching just back in some of the live footage that we shot, is I think when you were over with a group of people and you were doing the fingers in the hands, there was a guy sort of watching from another table, and he was watching it, and he sat there himself as you did it and tried to. He just wanted it to happen to him. This is a genuine story. He was sitting there, and he then became one of the people later on that you did a load of stuff on. But it's interesting how in magic, naturally, if you go into a bar, people get interested and fascinated, and if they hear there's a magician, they will start to crowd over. But if you've got someone in a bar, because of the time of the set piece, and you're getting this, and the people are seeing this happen, it's so amazing how quickly a crowd develops. And as soon as in a bar, you watch it, you hear someone say the word sleep, everyone goes, what's going on over there? And they sort of sit there, try to pretend not to be interested when it comes up. Oh, what are you doing? You know? So it is a genuinely fascinating thing. I think this is what's going to be nice here, is setting out we're going to set out some actually specific effects, which are hypnosis and magic, which people can learn straight, get into. But, I mean, once people kind of get more into this, is it kind of limited to sort of by their imagination, what they can come up with, and just really being
Absolutely,
creative?
it's limited. You know, don't just look at the phenomena. It's pretty simple. A hypnoforce, you're going to hypnotise someone. You're going to tell them what they're going to think or choose, or whatever else. But you know, creatively, you can dress that up however you want. You can put as much spin on it before you give that reveal as you want.
I think the opportunity for performers magicians who want to use sort of hypnosis in their act, the opportunity is there to be creative. There are millions of magic tricks available. There's millions of stage hypnosis routines published on the internet in lists. People do it on the street and whatever. And it's kind of like finding somewhere between the two is as simple as kind of going, well, actually, I can do anything with hypnosis.
Yeah. And if you look at a lot of effects that are on the market for mentalists, a decent percentage of them are using kind of classic methods of magic and mentalism to create what appears to be
a suggestive
routine.
Yeah.
You know, it appears to be that they've forgotten the card, or it appears to be that they were forced to make that choice. They've been influenced in some way, and that kind of thing. And I guess you know, I look at it the other way around. I'm quite happy to blatantly use hypnosis to achieve some of my favourite bits of mentalism.
So it's sort of working in the reverse.
Yeah, well, just looking at it from both sides, you know.
It's thinking about yourself as a performer rather than boxing yourself in as
just
a magician with hidden hypnosis or
it just becomes part of what you do. It's this whole character that kind of can just do this kind of weird. It's a weird sort of phenomenon for people to watch, and you know, I think you're right. You know, doing it on the reverse side, you know, actually just using hypnosis, whereas some mentalism routines sort of try to emulate that type of
pseudo trance.
Pseudo trance and that kind of. Just to actually do that on the reverse is really fascinating, and people are really fascinated by it. I mean, these effects we're going to discuss as if people have kind of got to grips with the stuff in the first part in terms of the inductions. That how difficult is this stuff going to be for them to get to grips with and get done? Is it going to be?
It's going to be extremely simple. You know, with regard to learning the hypnotising part of it. You know, the way I train people is just to drill it in. So we kind of line up and you just go over
on the
it.
course, we all stand there in this line. It's like some weird sort of like camp.
It is.
Weird kind of disciplinary camp. It's great.
But, you know,
that's the Manchurian aspect.
It's kind of like a martial arts sort of line up. If you just drill in the words and the actions over and over and over and over and over. And yes, if you've seen, once you've got that down and you know you can hypnotise, then you can strafe from that as much as you want. You don't have to do it in this fashion. You know, we're just trying to communicate part of the process. But once you've got that down and you've got to the point where you are testing your work, because if you don't test your work, by that I mean give a suggestion and see if the person responds to it. If you haven't tested your work, then really you don't know if the person's hypnotised yet. You know, they may look a bit hypnotised and they may seem relaxed, but you know, you have to give a genuine test, and you want to see a genuine unconscious response.
So what's give an example of like a good test?
So tests are kind of built into the process as far as I'm concerned. So when I get into the deepening and giving out those procedural instructions, I normally just immediately say I'm going to touch your hand and it's going to start to lift up towards your face. You know, and I want to get that out as quickly as I can. It's not really a routine, but it's still something visual for other people to look at, and now it's all starting to look a bit Frankenstein and a bit spooky.
There is something weird about watching.
There is something weird because it moves in a strange, bizarre fashion. So at that point, I'm testing my work with this analog test. The next phase is to say, and I'll touch your hand, it will drop down, and you will forget your name or forget. You know, again, you don't have to do this, but now we've got a nice binary test. They're going to forget or they're not. And once you've established that, and you've got through the testing, then everything else we're going to talk about now is just another suggestion. You know, it's just one more suggestion. And yes, there are ways of phrasing it that help. If you're using some sort of dual reality, there are ways of phrasing it to do that, so you can see this idea and then you can, you know, fire it off with very similar wording and stuff like that. There are ways of getting misses. There are ways of stringing out the reveal. But it's really pretty straightforward. If they're suggestible, speak plain English, tell them how it's going to be.
Be confident as well.
Be confident with it,
Yeah, also to come back to what you were sort of saying about how easy is it to do and the line of things that we do. it's important to sort of note that even though we were hammering in specific lines in a certain order, and on this DVD, people can watch it back over and over and learn those lines.
Yes.
The key to realise is that they are individual lines of patter that just happen to be in that order.
Right.
In that particular version of it. So you don't necessarily... the feedback, observation aspect is obviously key.
Yes.
To sort of, that's right, as you're handling, as
That's
your
right,
eyes
as
flirt
it pacing and leading in that as well, yeah.
And the other aspect of that was, things take different amounts of time to happen. So this could take a minute.
Right.
I probably wouldn't want to use them again for anything else if it took me a minute
Yeah,
to do
it's
it.
taking...
But I have found myself in the pub in those situations where it's kind of like I can see them fighting because I've set it up wrong. It's a challenge, but I'm just going to make it happen and just carry on until they touch.
That's the advantage,
for my own kind of,
The advantage is of doing that kind of thing if you're in a bar with a group of people, as you did in some of the footage we shot, is you had a group, but you just went for a big group of people, got them all doing this, and just knocked some people out that were taking a longer time, and just weeded down to like the best sort of 4 or 5 there.
Yeah. But you still carry on with the others.
Yeah, you still
And
continue.
that's the point I was trying to make, was that it's patter, so it's not like you have 5 sentences to say, and then you've got nowhere to go. It's kind of, they revolve around and keep coming back.
Indeed.
So.
And again, you have choices in that situation. Yes, you can eliminate people, but they don't leave feeling robbed, generally they wish they were back in there. But you have choices. You don't have to eliminate them.
No.
You can just focus in on 2 people once you get to the induction phase.
And let them carry on,
and then they're still there. So their expectation and their anticipation of, well, that could be me in a moment, is still there. But it was a good demonstration of a way of kind of invisibly weeding out people.
Yeah.
So you just get down to your half dozen.
And everyone's involved in it, but like we touched on the first part, even if you just do this for someone, this is still something happening that they haven't experienced before. So they, even though you may not proceed with the full induction with them, they've still had this happen and perhaps this as well. So it's still for them an experience. In terms of the testing, the work, let's just give people a little kind of boost there. Say, for example, I'd say that if they're out there and they've done the arm test, you bring that, you've done the name amnesia, and they remember their name, what do?
I wouldn't give up.
You just put them straight back in and go
them
for it
straight
again.
back in, and I'll deepen them even more.
Great.
And I'll probably up my tempo and my voice. I'm like, you're really going to believe that you can't remember your name.
That's what I just wanted to make that point, because if people go and try this for the first time and don't want to get disheartened by they haven't forgotten their name, just put them back in and go for it again. I think that's
absolutely. Tell them it'll feel good. You can say it'll feel funny. You can soften the blow with just for a time.
Lock it into
it'll
a
be
box.
gone. You could lock it into that part of your mind where things that appear to be forgotten, where we just put things away.
Yeah.
You can revive. It's on the tip of your tongue. It's like the times that you know something, you just can't quite get it.
But it's a really good question, because when I know exactly how it feels when you start out and you give a suggestion and it doesn't take. You just think, all right then. But that person could still be hypnotised. It may just be that you didn't give the suggestion sincerely and with confidence. It's a strange thing. This is where it starts to sound a bit woolly, a bit esoteric.
Right.
But you really have to display this confidence. Your expectation is that they will not be able to say or remember their name. You have to absolutely intend for that to occur when you deliver that suggestion. And it's hard at first, especially if you're going to say something like, you won't be able to see me, I'll be invisible.
Making yourself
it seems absurd the first time you say it. But you have to deliver that with absolute sincerity. And that's, it's the same with inductions. Yes, we talk through specifics of the technique and hold their wrist like this and say the words in this fashion and da-da-da. But if you were to say to somebody, look, in a moment I'm going to put my finger on the top of your head, and when I put my finger on your head, your eyes will close and you'll go into a deep state of hypnosis, and absolutely mean and intend that to happen, you know that will happen, don't you?
Yeah, I think that's
I can already see it on your face.
Right?
I like sort of trapped between the three.
Is there any reason why that should happen? Is there any special finger on the head technique that's make it? No, it's my intention to make that happen, and your expectation that that just might happen, and that's enough to get into this and get into using this phenomenon.
What's nice about this as well, in terms of integrating hypnosis into a magic performance, is, and I suppose most people know, if you're doing, say, you've got your set routine of 5 the tricks
Yeah.
that you do every time. And you go to a gig and you may do them, you may end up doing it 20 times
Yeah.
that set. And it's sometimes quite easy to sort of maybe drop into an autopilot mode with this. Whereas when you're using hypnosis, like, because you don't quite know how they're going to react, you know that they're going to go under, but you know, is their arm going to go straight down? You're actively paying attention as well. So you're actively paying attention to this performance, which I think keeps it very fresh and quite exciting. So it's never going to become, you know, there's no danger of it becoming repetitive. You are, and you know, just integrating that with your magic as well, I think will keep your actual magic routines quite, you know, fresh and new all the time, because you're actively paying attention to the spectator.
But
Yeah,
on that note, you do, you know, at first you are totally focused on the subject and on the phenomena you're trying to get, but something, a trap, if you like, that's easy to fall into, and I'm certainly have been guilty of this in the past, is where you're so focused on that person, you forget that you can stop. And you can talk to other people. It's not going to break the spell here. If you talk to the audience and say, and explain what's happening or what would be.
So once they're like this, you can engage everyone.
There is a real concern that if you
walk away from them,
the moment you stop, that it's. But I mean, I don't know whether we call it on the film, but when we were out filming, Amit had a couple of guys statued and just left them there.
He just
20 minutes.
Off.
I did, yeah, I left him.
They had their eyes open.
He's a
and
mean
they could see
character.
what was going on.
Great. Okay, so let's wrap this section up and then move into some of the more specifics then. We'll move on to some of the specific techniques and go through them one by one, break them down, do some demos, show some footage and that, and explain how they work, yeah? Okay, the first thing we're going to discuss is the hypnoforce.
Yes.
Describe briefly what is a hypnoforce.
A hypnoforce, very, very simply, is where you hypnotise someone and you then tell them what they will choose, what they will think of, how they will act. You can fire that off with a certain cue or a trigger.
Right.
You can obviously pre-show it and set as much time between, you know, giving the suggestion and the post-hypnotic act where they carry it out.
Okay.
So it's great for mind reading. It's great for magic tricks that involve them making a choice from a number of objects.
Yeah.
A certain selection. You can disguise the force by asking them to change their mind a few times and just telling them how they're going to feel, telling them how they're going to respond.
I guess the big thing with the hypnoforce, as opposed to a magician's force pre-showed or whatever, is that they have no memory of it ever occurring. So you can genuinely say...
So it does feel like a genuine choice
Yeah.
when they do it. It does feel like a genuine choice. And the nice thing is you can use this pre-show. I mean, you could also, I suppose, if you wanted to do maybe a force, you could do it in a group of people, because it's still very entertaining to see someone under and supposedly have them, you know, give them a word they're going to say and then reveal it. And to them it's fascinating, to everyone else it's quite entertaining. But the power of it in a magic or mentalism effect is to pre-show it.
And again, you can use cards. I mean, let's try something. My cards are a bit old. And the box has been ruined. But just hold on to these. They really are all there. Just take hold of them if you would.
Okay.
And don't look through them, but just take hold of the pack. And again, just look at this little circle on the back. Okay, we're just going to kind of do a card trick. Keep looking at that little circle, and you're going to think of any card. You know, you're going to think of a card. You're going to change your mind a few times, but then you're going to settle on one card in particular. It's just going to pop straight into your mind. And when it does, just nod your head. The one that you've settled on as your final free choice. When you've got one in your mind, just let me know. Don't say what it is yet, but you've got one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What I want you to do is go through the pack and find the card you're thinking of. It is a red card, isn't it?
It is a red card.
Yeah. Just go through the pack and
just take it out.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks of a red card.
I mean, you should find something unusual about it.
It's okay, just say.
That's right.
Hey, let me check.
I'll tell you what.
No, is it really not there?
It's not there. No, there's not. It's not. I don't know. No, it's not here.
I'll tell you what. Just count them for me, if you would.
Count them.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51.
There's 51
Yeah,
cards.
yeah.
Yeah, I removed the card earlier on.
Yeah.
Do you have a wallet?
I do have a wallet, yes.
Okay, just take your wallet out.
Can you hold those? It's right back. Okay.
Well, that looks like a really
Yes.
good value on it.
It's like
Doesn't it just?
QVC.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been near your.
No, I've had it in
wallet.
here. I keep my things close to me.
Keep it close to-
As you
I mean, and it is. It's all about security. It's all
Yeah.
about feeling secure. So open up your wallet,
Okay.
and you should find there's one card inside. Hidden in there somewhere, you'll find one single card. Now, would you be surprised if that was the card you just thought of a moment ago, the one that wasn't in the pack of cards?
Yes, I would be
Okay,
surprised.
turn it over.
What card were you thinking of?
3 of diamonds. I love it, and it's his best with cards. That's fantastic.
There you go.
What's just happened here then? Is this a Hypno Force?
It was.
This is a Hypnoforce, yes. Yes.
That's great.
Can you remember being forced that information at all? To pick that card? And
No, I genuinely don't.
that's because the amnesia works a treat, I guess.
That's fantastic.
But that's as powerful as it is. It's kind of like, I mean...
That's a very powerful effect, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's very
But equally, I mean, just to put it into context, I mean, obviously this is a powerful effect in terms of close-up magic or
Yeah.
walkabout magic or even stage magic with
It's
cards.
great.
But
Yeah.
you could force any number of pieces of information
Let's try something else.
as
So,
big as they wanted to be.
Right.
Have you seen this? Have you seen?
if you put that
You
way,
can pop that way if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
have you seen this? It's just a little padlock. I use it at the gym. You have to put bring your own padlock to the gym.
Okay.
And it's set to a special number. It's a number that's very special to me.
Right.
So just try a couple of numbers. Just spin it around. Make sure it is a good lock. You'll see it's a branded lock in the UK.
Okay. It's one
Be
of
happy.
these
It's
kind
not
of
like
combination.
some special gaffed device where you turn one of the wheels and it springs open. It's locked, is it not?
I'm going to try 0, 0, 0.
No, don't try 000.
Okay.
What I want you to do is just look at that lock and try and conjure up a 3-digit number. Just let a 3-digit number come into your mind. Again, it could be a number from 000 right up to 999, but a 3-digit number is going to pop into your mind. And name it. Name that number.
I'm going for 108.
108. That's I think that's a very lucky number in Chinese numerology.
Right.
So set it.
Give it a yank.
It's fantastic.
That's great.
But I mean, lock it again and flick it to 109, 107, 208.
Yeah, I mean, I can.
Just convince yourself that it's not a gaffed lock.
No, that's great.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Incredible mind reader. It was amazing.
Oh, well, I like to think so.
So look, a Hypnoforce.
That's great, isn't it?
Doesn't just
108.
have to be one piece of information.
Right.
It can be combined with other methods such as pickpocketing.
Yeah.
You can plant things in bizarre places. You can do some. A great little effect Harry Lucas did. He did some TV out in I think it was Austria, and he had 5 Polaroids and a really good story about this photographer being particularly sensitive to images. 5 Polaroids face down, one of which related to the story that he was telling. She put her hand over the cards like this, and then felt a shiver go up her arm as she passed one of the photographs and turned it over. And then it's one thing forcing the information, but the other is kind of dictating the reaction. You'll be amazed, or you will feel this really weird sensation. So then when you ask the person, well, why did you name that card? Well, it's my favourite card. Well, why did you choose the 4th photograph? I just felt this really weird sensation go up my arm. It was like a current of electricity.
It's more than just dictating the reaction. It's dictating the method, essentially. Yeah. So that when they rationalise why it occurred, they've got an answer for that.
Yeah.
Just to separate out too, because obviously dictating the reaction is and then you'll be completely amazed.
Yeah.
Clearly.
But if
As
you've
you-
got
as
the
you were.
opportunity to do that, why not put that in? make sure they're going to be really amazed. And it's
Yeah,
gonna be a
no,
great
do that. But
reaction.
I think what he's saying is
Were
when
you
they...
really amazed?
I was amazed, yeah.
But
Amazing.
Cards and wallets, great, isn't it?
But when you think
That's
back...
impromptu whenever.
Yeah. The point is when they think back, as Kev said, they will then have a reason, when they try and understand what's occurred or why that happened, they will then have a reason to kind of hang it on.
Yeah.
I just felt this weird feeling. I don't know what it was, maybe it was magnets or something.
Yeah.
But, that's...
And in your case, it was a free choice.
Yeah, it
What
feels
was-
completely and utterly free.
The card
And you did
number,
change
yeah?
your mind a couple of times, didn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
of
did
course.
change, and I got to 3 of diamonds, and I thought about changing again, but I didn't. I decided to stick with it. That was the one I was going to stay with.
Yeah.
Coming back to something you were saying earlier about people are interested in seeing all these things anyway, the hypnosis.
Yes.
I mean, if your performance moves away from appearing as a magician
Yeah.
with hidden hypnosis, and the hypnosis is part of the act.
Yeah.
You can do this hypnoforce sort of live.
So you could do it live in a situation and
Yeah,
let people
and-
watch that
Sure.
process if that's the type of performance
Yeah,
you
so-
want
so-
to be.
so- Certainly
Because
I'm-
the difference between that and magic is
Yeah.
that with magic, obviously, we don't want to give away the methods, but with
No.
hypnosis, the method is almost part of the presentation.
What's lovely about this, though, I mean, if you were doing, say, I don't know, a private party at someone's house, you could at some point, find, a guy that you think's a bit of the life and soul, take him aside, bosh him under, do some hypnoforces. Then before you leave, so I want to, get the whole group and do some of this most impossible kind of stuff to finish on.
It could be
It's
any number. It could
absolutely
be a
phenomenal. It's a
10-digit
phenomenal
number.
idea.
It could be he picks any book off a shelf. And,
Yeah.
It can be as clean as you like.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the suggestion, it's very simple. The elements of it are one to and again, this kind of comes from some of the principles in Paul Brooks' The Gift.
Right, The Gift,
which is essentially about how to use pre-show.
Okay.
And one of the ideas in there is when you is to sow this seed at the beginning, this seed of an idea, so that when you get the dual reality going later on, and you're asking them to think of that word or that number, they know exactly what you're talking about. And it's exactly the same with this. Plant a key phrase. So in your case, I'd said to you, you will later on we're going to do a card trick, and when we do, I'll ask you to think of a card,
Right.
and you'll change your mind a few times, but you will settle on the 3 of diamonds. For some reason, you'll settle on the 3 of diamonds. It will seem like a completely free and fair choice to you,
Okay.
and you'll have no memory that this conversation has taken place. You will have completely forgotten when we do this card trick. It was if you've never been hypnotised, and it will be an absolutely free choice. You'll be amazed should that card be revealed. That was essentially.
So that is essentially what's happened in terms of with this
Yeah.
card. So let's break them down now. For people. So this
Yeah.
is what this is the suggestion that you've given.
Yeah,
Um,
sure. That's the suggestion, and the seeding element of that
Yeah.
is we're going to do a card trick.
Right.
Yeah, and when I ask you to think of a card, it will be 3 of diamonds. It will seem like a completely free and fair choice. So if you look at what I was saying to you when we actually did the card trick,
Yeah.
you'll find those same kind of trigger phrases: free and fair choice. Let's try a card trick. Let's,
So you're sort of
I want you to
recounting
think
back
of something.
to
yeah.
the suggestion.
Yeah, exactly. And eventually, I know your mind's going to get there. And why we were setting that up, I'd also said, and later on, I'll ask you to think of a 3-digit number. And again, you'll go through a few, but you will settle on 108 for some unknown reason. You will choose 108.
And how long in advance can you do that? If you're performing, can you do that?
Minutes before.
Minutes. You do
You
it
can
minutes
do it minutes before. You can do it hours before.
Really, as long as that. Okay.
And
I'd say weeks.
yeah,
Really.
and again, that's what I was going to say. We've done some of this stuff for TV that's had 2-3 week gaps between giving a post-hypnotic
Wow.
suggestion and firing that in the post-hypnotic act, and it stands up. And people often ask me, how long will a post-hypnotic suggestion last?
Yeah.
And I think there may be some people say, well, it only lasts a few days or a couple of weeks. But the point is, if you want it to last a month or a year,
Yeah.
then insist upon that. This is how it's going to be. At 12 o'clock on December the 18th, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it will happen.
Because it's just as fundamental as it lasting minutes.
Yeah.
If you say later today when I click my fingers, this is going to occur. If that lands as a suggestion, so they act upon it, there's no difference between that and saying
Right.
any time in the next 12 months I click my fingers and this will occur.
Yeah.
It's just it's as well seated in the unconscious bit of their brain.
Right.
So they're not walking around thinking, oh, he'll click his fingers, he'll click his fingers. And,
No.
No. Because that it's just, but when it's like it's the same as a phobic reaction.
Yeah.
You don't walk around thinking, I'm scared of spiders. Is there a spider to be scared of? But when one appears,
But when
you're
one
like,
appears,
"Oh,
you
But part of you
Oh,
don't.
God.
Part of you is there
You react
looking for
to that.
spiders.
Yeah.
And it's
you see?
exactly the
so
same.
the moment it's there, yeah, exactly, that little bit of sleeping bit of your brain suddenly fires into life, and it occurs, and before you realise it's occurred, it's happened. So with
Right.
you, it was kind of, think of a card.
Yeah.
And
But
you
it
thought-
feels very, very fair, to give people an idea. It feels very, very fair when you think of that, and it doesn't seem in any way
It's because we've built in that whole you can change your mind a few times.
contrived. You know, I went on 5 of clubs, then went for 3 of spades, and I stopped on 3 of diamonds. It was very specific. I know exactly, and I stopped on 3 of diamonds. I thought, yeah, that's what I'm going to go for. You know, so you've gone over exactly how you put the suggestion in for people, and that is essentially putting them under, as in the methods which you've taught previously on here. And putting that suggestion in and bringing them out again. Let's talk about the card appearing in the wallet.
Yeah.
So to give people, you know, an absolute specific method of how that was achieved.
Yeah. And you want to know? I can see.
How, when, how?
It took all of 3 minutes to do.
Right.
From zapping you to bring you back out without any memory of being zapped.
Yeah.
Or boshed or.
Whatever there's these key phrases that we use. Zapped.
Let's
Bosh.
not say zapped.
I wouldn't
in
say
any context. But put it this way: there's a number of things you can do when you put the person into hypnosis. You want to do a hypnoforce. You have a lot of time. So if their wallet was in their jacket, you could blatantly just take it out.
You could literally just take it out.
They're sitting there like this. You could blatantly just take it out. Take something out and get the information, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Or put something in there, so it's now planted. In your case, because your wallet was in your back.
It was in my back pocket. Yes.
And there's not a lot of room for playing around. all I said while you were hypnotised was take your wallet out of your back pocket.
Right. Okay. Whilst
while you were in there,
and you did,
I said just take it out of your back pocket and give it to me. Did the dirty work. Put it back in your pocket. You'll have complete amnesia that this has occurred. You know, so it's kind of you were complicit in your own.
So you're just willingly handing it over.
Yeah,
So
because you're going to behave much like, you know. I know people don't like this idea, especially hypnotherapists who tiptoe around it. And, you know, you have all your own choices and all this kind of stuff. But as far as I'm concerned, when you're in that state, you're much like the automaton. Yes, you know what you're doing while you're doing it, but it seems right. You know, so many people said that last night. Yeah, I don't want to unstick my hand from the jet.
Yeah,
why wouldn't you?
It feels like I can, but I want to, but I can't.
Yeah.
And especially when you were doing some of the human statue stuff as well, like both of you, it's like they're standing there and you're throwing like money down on the floor, but they just. You can tell, you know, this was a couple of students. They were desperate for this like money that was on the floor, but they just can't get to it.
And the thing is, I've been doing that for a while with money in £20 and £60. We covered someone in a few £100, all over them. You know, all you got to do is just move an inch, just touch one note, and it's all yours. I did this recently with it's €2,000.
Wow.
And you know, it was a fee for you know, some training performance.
Okay.
But I know if he can't take €20 or €50, there's no chance he's going to be able to do that. And some people have seen those kind of videos and say, yeah, but what if it was 10,000? It doesn't make any difference.
It doesn't matter whether it's
the person
10,
can't
5,
move.
20,000.
You know, their belief is they cannot move.
Yeah.
It's meaningless how much they want the €100 or the €2,000 or the 10,000. It doesn't make any difference because they've got this overwhelming belief that's saying, but I can't move. It just won't. I can't do it. Can you just put it nearer? You know, there's nothing. There's no way that's going to fail if you've tested your work.
If you've tested the work, like you said. Yeah. So let's talk hypnoforces. You've demonstrated a card and a number there. What else can you force hypnoforce? I mean,
well, something we were playing around with last night is why the person was under and has given a suggestion. Was to just pick up their mobile phone, go straight through their address book, and just stop on the first name of any particular letter.
Right.
And last night I found some odd name like NG or EG.
Right.
It was clearly not an obvious name, but it was the first one in E. So I said, and later on I'm going to ask you to think of any letter at all. You'll change your mind a few times, but you will settle on the letter E. You'll have no memory that we've had this conversation. It's as if you've never been hypnotised. Boom. Ask them a few random questions and then say, let's try some mind reading. So again, I kind of planted that seed.
Let's try some mind reading.
Yeah. I want you to think of all the letters of the alphabet and just think of any letter at all, any letter you want. Don't say it out loud. Have you got one? Is that your mobile? Yeah, great. Pick it up. Go through your phone book until you get to the first name
Yeah.
that begins with that letter. Again, it was some odd name. I said, this is not an obvious name, is it? No, in fact, this is someone's nickname, isn't it? Yeah, you know. And
Great.
You can kind of
Building
get
it
into it like that.
progressively, yeah.
And yeah, it's blatant and it's open. I've looked at his phone, but
Because in most bar situations, I mean, people do. They sit down with their drink, they put their wallet there, their phone there, their pack of cigarettes there outside, and it's there for the
And
taking.
playing on from that trick.
Yeah.
Doesn't even have to be with the numbers. It can be with pictures, music on the phone.
Right.
I mean, you often force the word sunshine, you know, just as easy to remember, I guess. But, you know, if you're going to force a single word, you often say sunshine. You can then do a drawing duplication off of that.
Right.
You know,
When you came on the Manchurian approach in
Yeah.
the bar on Saturday night, we played a lot of games with you. I can't
Indeed.
remember if you remember some of the things that were forced, but there was a menu of vodkas.
on a huge mirror, like a 20-foot mirror.
I remember the mirror.
And you were offered the
In the
choice of
bar.
any of those, you know, pick any word off that mirror.
Yeah.
And randomly you chose...
Gold, whatever, you know.
Probably quite a hardcore one.
Yeah.
Well, it was the one that Ant told you to choose, so...
So you're really kind of, as long as you've got the confidence in the suggestion you're giving, you can pretty much force most things. I mean, in the environment.
And you can force a number of things. So you can say,
Within the same
firstly you'll go for
sequence.
this, secondly you'll go for this,
Right.
and finally you'll go for this. You know, I don't just mean you're changing your mind, I mean making multiple choices.
Could you, for example, say to someone, let's go with the list of drinks on the wall. The first one you're going to decide on is a lager, and then you're going to change your mind to white wine, for example. When you do it and they get to their final white wine, you could then recall back and say, but first off, you thought of that, didn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
so
is
that's
a massive
kind of
convincing for
really
everyone watching.
convincing and really freaky. You know,
Yeah, when you
for
when you
the
tell
person.
someone, you know, and there's some great card effects out there that use this principle where you've already appear to have finished, and the kicker is, but you almost thought of another one, didn't you?
Yeah.
You saw another one as well. It was the Jack of Clubs, and yeah, it's a massive kicker that you've thought of, that you've read what they almost went for. It's
Yeah,
even more
that's
powerful
almost
in a
if
way.
you knew what was happening the whole way along.
Yeah.
You know, which
I was just going to say, I mean, when I perform this, I will test someone to the point of testing amnesia. Make
Right.
sure they can forget things easily.
So before you
Because-
go into this type of routine, you will do like something like a maybe forget their name or a number,
Yeah.
forget, or
Yeah,
something like
typically.
that.
Because when I perform,
Yeah.
I want them to have no knowledge
Yeah.
of being forced that information.
Right.
You can do it when they know they've been forced the information, and that can be quite funny because they start to get that kind of like, I know what you've done, you know, kind of look.
Yeah.
But they still
change their
can't
mind.
help it. They'll still.
Resistance is futile.
It is.
And you can essentially do that with someone and give them the suggestion. You'll keep changing your mind, but
Yeah.
you will keep coming back to the four of clubs.
See, that's a really interesting thing. I mean, you forced the word sunshine. I think let's just quickly go over what you've just mentioned. So, in terms of testing, if you're going to do this, I know you was doing this when we did some of the live stuff. You were doing forgetting a number and getting them to count their fingers,
Yeah.
changing that into their name before you go into this post-it noted, like the thing with the word. So, just if you don't mind, just briefly go over just what the general idea is to forget a number, just for this test, just for people that want to get into doing this stuff where you're going to do hypnoforces, because obviously amnesia is a big part of it.
Sure.
So they're under, and you're going to get them to forget a number. Is there any specific kind of key phrases that are important in that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kevin Ant spoke about it earlier on, but, you know, it's going to be on the tip of your tongue. You simply not be able to remember the number 3, for example. It's going to be in your head, but you simply not be able to remember the number 3. I mean,
You were rubbing it off a blackboard.
Yeah, I mean, another phrase I use, once they open their eyes, I go, have you ever had that feeling when you wake up in the morning and you just can't remember what the dream's about?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a great
I
phrase.
love
Yeah.
that phrase. That really threw him.
And then they're like...
And what's
yeah.
nice is this getting them to count their fingers is a nice visual.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
thing
it's a
for
bit
that
of
as
a...
well.
It
and
is.
quite a
It's-
standard fare. Really.
It is.
Yes.
It's a standard hypnosis routine.
Yeah.
But
It's really interesting to watch it because there's these guys go 1, 2, 4, 5, 6,
Yeah.
7, 8, 9, 10.
and then
11.
you can, you know, they've got 6 and another 6, and you can get up to 12
Yeah.
fingers and stuff like that. When I do amnesia, I tend not to do number amnesia.
Okay.
I tend to go for name amnesia
Yep.
and then total amnesia.
Right.
And then kind of push on from
Just
there.
push on
That's
from
just
there.
That's just my preference. But
I tend to go number to name.
I'm
and then-
very
and then
much
go
like
from there, to
Kev,
be honest.
and
Right.
then I
But-
changed their name as well.
So if you've done, say,
Yeah,
a
makes
number
sense.
amnesia,
Sure.
will you put them back under, and then bring the number back, or somehow translate the number amnesia to the name. Is that?
Well, what I do is just like I bosh them back in, and then we're like, I just want to replace the number 3 with your name.
Right. Okay.
And now you can't remember your own name.
But think about it. Think about this for the people who are coming new into this kind of thing. You could, if you boss somebody in, you've done this, you've done this, you've done this, you've done like an arm levitation, and maybe 1 or 2 other little kind of suggestions just to sort of see them respond in some way. If you then bring them out suggesting amnesia for that session,
Yes.
which sometimes is a natural thing that just occurs to some people. For other people, you need to insist upon it, and then ask them if they remember what occurred while they were hypnotised. If they can't, that's good enough.
Yeah.
I've had people like that who can forget what's happened, but they won't forget their name. Because it's really ingrained in their brain.
Okay.
Or they're spending their whole time thinking, no, my name is Bob, my name is Bob, my name is Bob.
Yeah.
Or no, of course I won't forget the number 4. That's idiotic.
Yeah.
But they might forget what happens in a trance. That's all you need for this.
Yeah.
So we're not going for we don't have to have the amazing, complete automaton.
I mean, you can use trigger words. I mean, you can just use words. I know a friend, when he says the word red, they open their eyes and they forget the number 3.
Right. Okay.
Create a strong moment for the amnesia.
Yeah.
And I tend to give a bit of distraction afterwards. How are you feeling?
So you immediately follow up with a question when they come out.
Are you
of
into
it.
sport? Whatever.
Something a bit random,
just some random
What's
question.
the time? Something
and
like
then
that.
what's your name? And again, when I ask that question, I'll normally say it with my intention is
You
they're
look
not going to be able to
slightly
remember it.
confused about
It's
what's
slightly
your name?
crazy uncle look.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Crazy
I
uncle.
mean, you can use a confusion statement as well.
Okay. What would that give? What would be like a confusion statement? What, just to ask something totally
Confusing.
unrelated?
Yeah.
Confusing.
So, for example, want to open your eyes. What is it you're not thinking about right now?
Yeah, that's a great sentence.
Yeah,
What does that mean?
Someone last night, and it's just like because as soon as you think of something that you're thinking of it, so
Yeah.
you can't speak. It's a bit of an odd statement.
What is it
It
you're not
works-
thinking
works
about
very
right
well.
now?
Yeah.
This into the hypnoforce. This is a good point. We were discussing this earlier. This is makes use of a market item, an invisible deck. I just want to go over this quickly now because I think it's a good point. Although this is not a genuine hypnoforce, it's more of a pseudo one because an invisible deck, for people that don't know, any named card can be reversed in the deck. But we were talking about the idea of using perhaps one of the set pieces as a way of getting them to name a card, which will give them give people that are new to a confidence in getting used to doing this as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, this is really
Yeah.
important. This is great advice. It's a bit like if you're trying to learn a classic force, then the best time to practice it is when you don't need to force a card. So
Absolutely,
if you miss,
yeah.
so it's exactly the same. You might as well practice using magnetic fingers or magnetic hands as a warm up, as a selection procedure.
Yeah.
Even if you're then going to your out is an invisible deck, or some other kind of reveal that really can
It
deal
gets
with
you
anything.
confident with these things, and it also gets a different kind of feeling for the effect. Rather than just name a card and here's one reversed, it's the one that you name. Why not get them? Get them to do this, and as your fingers touch, drop your head forward and let a playing card drop into your head.
Yeah.
That for people watching is like amazing. Why? This must be a reason why.
And
This
again,
must be a purpose.
some people will go at that point, and
Exactly.
you can roll into
And
your
you can
hypno
roll into
routine very easily.
hypnosis. So it's a great idea.
This can be done impromptu as well, so you don't have to use the invisible
Okay,
deck.
expand on that. Explain.
So you can hypnotise them, force a card,
Yeah,
and
indeed.
then obviously you've got that card reversed in the deck.
So you
and
can
just
actually
go
then.
through
So
it.
your natural progression, once you're confident with the actual hypnosis, is to do it with
Of course,
an amnesia and that.
But that could be in a.
It's
Could
great
be in
if
an
you,
envelope,
it's
you
great
know.
if you're hanging around with other magicians, sort of friends that aren't in hypnosis, and you put them under, you borrow their deck out, the reverse, and put it back in their
Yeah.
pocket, and you name a card. This is going to freak them out because you're going to go and they're going to go, "What on earth just happened there?"
Yeah, indeed.
Fabulous. That's hypnoforces. Great. Next thing on the agenda is the hypno peak.
Yeah, the hypno peak.
What is
Again,
the hypno peak?
Hypno peak, very, very simple idea once again. You're going to hypnotise somebody,
Right.
and you're going to... There are various things you could do. Firstly, you could ask them for some secret information.
Okay.
So I guess an old, well-worn example is to say, I'd like you to think of a question I couldn't possibly know the answer to. Say that question out loud and say the answer to it. Something I couldn't possibly know.
This is why they're in.
This is why they're in
hypnotised,
trance.
yeah.
I want you to think of a question I couldn't possibly know the answer to, and to say the answer, and then to give amnesia for that.
Okay.
Okay, and to also let them know that later on when you ask them to think of something, you can possibly know this will be the thing that they think of, and they'll have complete amnesia for what you've done. Okay, now, you know, the fact is, 9 out of 10 people still think of their mother's maiden name.
Yeah,
right?
as you were doing it, I think, what questions do people ask?
You might as well
Mother's
do the
maiden
pre-show
name.
research and
Yeah.
do it that way.
The most insecure part of the world.
But it's one of those things.
Absolutely.
A hell of a lot of people think of mother's maiden name. So you could force that anyway. You could ask them to think of a PIN number or the last 4 digits of something, you know. But from experience, most people tend to think of the mother's maiden name anyway. When you then come to your reveal, whether that's immediately afterwards or whether it's, you know, an hour afterwards or during your show or whatever, you can say, let's try something a little bit different. So you've done your usual effects. Let's try some mind reading here. Yeah, you'll do. Or, you know, do some selection procedure and then go for that person anyway. And so I'd like you to think of something, a question I couldn't possibly know the answer to. You know, this is absolutely fair. Da, 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 da. Have you got one? Yeah. And then you can do like a multi-stage reveal, even if it was your mother's maiden name. You can say, yeah, this is something that's quite personal to you. You've gone for, this is something to do with your family, isn't it? It's something to do with your family. It's not your dad's side, it's your mum's side. You know, you're thinking of your mother's. The question is, what's my mother's maiden name? Yeah, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you've still got to reveal the answer.
Yes.
Do you understand?
You've
So
built up the
you've
whole
revealed
thing of
the question
as well.
First of all, you've pulled the question
in
out
a very
of their head.
progressive manner. It's not like,
and then,
the question is this.
you know, however you're going to do it, you know, your mother's name is whatever. It's that simple. That's one idea. So the peak in this sense is that you're going to peek inside their head. You're going to find something secret. And you're going to be back out of there before they even know what's occurred. That's one way of doing it. Have you got your wallet on you there?
Yes.
Could you bring it out?
Okay.
Again, I don't want to touch it.
And we haven't touched it since the hypnoforce part.
No.
So, open up your wallet. I mean, most people carry a receipt or something like that in the wallet. Just open up, and if you can find a receipt in there, take it out. Again, if it's there's numbers on it, don't do it too closely. But just again, make sure that I can't see it. This is a receipt for something quite recent. This is something. This receipt's from the last week or so, isn't it? It's from the last. I don't know. Certainly from the last week. And there's a number on there. The total on that bill.
Yeah.
This is for food, isn't it? And yeah, there was a couple of people there. It's just £24.80. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
So you can also.
It is.
But of course, we had your wallet earlier to stick the card in it, so it's kind of, it makes perfect sense to kind of pick something. I mean,
so there's two things.
Could have been the last 5 digits of your driving license. You know?
So another way of kind of peeking is to genuinely peek.
Take it out and actually have a look.
And again, that's my receipt, so I need that for my book.
Because you didn't have one, so we had to put one in.
You didn't have a receipt, so we put a receipt. So
Well,
you can,
I've emptied them out for illicit material.
so you can plant information.
Right.
You can just grab hold of.
So you could
a credit
essentially
card.
take out a credit card.
Yeah, there are methods out there for instantly imprinting the details on a credit card covertly.
Yeah. So next time we caught in customs, you say it was not me. It was planted on me by a hypnotist.
There was this little man in a 3-piece suit.
I hear it works every time. I recommend you use that.
So peeking is in this sense a very literal thing. You are literally taking something and having a look.
It's
it was born out of. I was hypnotising someone, a friend of a friend, late night in a bar. Everyone was drinking a lot. 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're kind of like, you've gone so far that you're just running out of routines, and it was kind of like, where should I go next? Tell me something I couldn't possibly know.
Yeah.
And she, it was her mum's birthday.
Yeah.
Like, so technically Christmas Day, really, reasonably weirdly.
Nice.
So I was like, oh yes, snow, cold. No, but and you know, you do it, but the next morning you reflect on it and sort of think, actually, why am I spending all this time trying to be really clever and sneaky and whatever? I can just do this and give them amnesia. So it's.
I mean, something else I'll often do is I do a kind of a liar and truth routine, and it's a little bit twisted.
Fantastic
in
routine.
that
What is
I'll say
twisted?
to I'll say to no, but it's kind of similar in
Similar,
that
it's
in that
similar,
that
yes.
I tend to say you're a liar, and everything you say will be a bigger lie than the last.
More of an expose than a peak.
Yeah, and they come out with, what size feet you got, 60, how many kids you got, 85, and
Yeah.
how old are you, 902. And I'll then say, now you're a truth teller, and you can only speak the truth, the absolute truth. What size feet you got, 10, how much money do you earn, 30,000, and what's your biggest regret? Now,
Right.
and they'll spill that immediately. They'll say,
Wow.
What's the one thing you've never told your
what's the one thing
parents?
you've never told your mother?
That's some of the answers you get.
So it is, because you could,
Yeah.
this could have an impact on their life. They can always blame it on the hypnosis later on.
Yeah.
But the point is, all I'm trying to say is, in terms of a hypno peak, it doesn't just have to be a number or a word or
No.
anything like that. It can be something that's really going to invoke an emotion. So,
Yeah.
I want you to think of something now, something you regret, and again,
Yeah.
but something that you're happy to share with other people, and then bang,
And then go into it.
and then just get into it. Like
I'd
that,
say
yeah.
also it's really nice about this, especially if you're maybe frequenting the same bar with similar people,
Yeah.
or perhaps you're repeat booking for parties.
Yeah.
And that. If you've done a hypno force and perhaps planted the card in the wallet, take the opportunity to note down a couple of their card details. Obviously not for illegal
Yeah.
purposes, the last 4 digits. So next time you meet them months later, you've got that information on you.
Absolutely.
Even if you see them in the street, they go, "Oh, this guy, he was great. He's a magician, hypnotist, and that. Do something for me now. I'm with my mates." And you immediately said, "Just take your credit card. This is it's done. The work's been done ages ago."
Yeah.
But I love the fact that you can have
Yeah.
that with you, any time,
Yeah.
just to go into this.
And that was going back to the suggestion.
Absolutely. Look, open it
Yeah.
up again. You know my number. My number's 108.
Yeah.
And again, it's a lucky number in Chinese, but I'm not thinking of it in kind of superstitious terms, but it's a number I just kind of look out for. But the way to reset this lock,
Right.
just talk you through it. If you hold it so that the red line's facing you,
Right.
you need to turn this and pull the pin out, and you'll see like a little pin appears. Is it on 108?
It's on 108 at the moment. Yeah.
And is that pin come out? Right, so now you
The
have
pin
to...
is out, yeah.
Right, so you have to reset the numbers to the number, and I want you to just think of any three-digit number at all. I'm not
You
going to look.
push.
No, yeah, you
Push that in.
push that in.
You push it in.
You push it in,
Right.
nice
That's
and
it.
clear.
Now-
reset
now
the
reset
numbers
the
nice and straight
Pick
on the
any
lock.
number you like.
Okay.
Again, don't pick 108.
Don't look.
Okay.
Uh,
But just pick any three-digit number.
okay.
And then when you've done that, you need to pull that pin out again so that you
Pull
can...
the pin out, turn
Right.
it round, stick it back in, mix it up. Yeah, I see it. That'll be.
That's
Is that it?
Job
Yeah.
done.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Spin
Yeah.
it, spin it, and then
Mix
and
it
then,
up.
then try it and see. Make sure it's locked. Is it
Yep.
locked? Excellent.
Yeah. And just take a look at them like this. Look. You'll see them. Because what's going to happen is they're going to drop, and as they drop, you're going to drop into a deep state of hypnosis. So just take a deep breath in. If you would, take a deep breath in, breathe out, and sleep now. Deeper, 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 deeper. Sinking, floating, drifting down, all the way down. Deeper sleep now. Deeper sleep, deeper sleep, deeper sleep. Feeling fantastic. And you can speak in this state. You'll find that you can speak. It may take a bit of effort at first, but you can speak very clearly. And you can say out loud the number that you set this lock to. You can say that out loud.
3, 5, 7.
357, 357. And again, what I'm going to do is count to 3, and on the count of 3, you'll sit back up in this chair, and you're going to ask me to demonstrate a hypno peak for you. You're going to ask me to demonstrate a hypno peak. You will have complete amnesia. You'll have completely forgotten that this occurred and that I asked you this information. So just 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this is all about security. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So for this section, let's if we can do that. I don't know if we can do a bit of a demo or something of a
Yeah,
peak.
why not?
Yeah.
And we've talked about the idea of peaking that, like something off of someone's card well in advance, and that, which is
Yeah,
a great
I mean,
example. I mean,
You know, I asked
Let's
you
do-
I asked you to set this lock. I mean,
Yes.
was this a special number to you? Was it just something that's easy to
no,
remember?
it was just quite random, to be
Quite
honest.
random.
Yeah.
It wasn't that random though, was it? It was there was some kind of sequence to these numbers.
No, there is a sequence to them. Yeah,
There is kind of a
yeah,
sequence
progressive.
to
Yeah.
it. It's a little bit odd, isn't it? It's 357, is that right?
It's 357.
Just unlock it.
Is that really off? It's like,
A lot of people say 007.
oh,
Everyone else says 357 for some unknown reason.
there it is.
There you
There we
go.
go.
Thanks a lot.
That's great.
Paul will love that.
Thanks, Paul.
Have we just demonstrated it, maybe?
We have.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
And you have amnesia, I guess, for
Come on.
They know, but you don't.
Can you remember? Do you know how that happened?
No.
Good.
Right.
So that's...
So what happened?
So you set the lock.
Right. I set the lock. Yeah.
Perfectly fairly.
Mm.
And then Ant bossed you back in when you held the keys here and said as they drop, you'll drop into
I
trance.
remember you holding the keys.
Yeah. And then you went whoosh, straight back in. He said you can speak. Tell me what the number is.
Did we film it?
You
So
said,
people
yeah,
can-
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
You said 357, and then.
But again,
gave you
put
amnesia,
some
called back.
put some time between those
Yeah, yeah,
two
we-
events occurring, and it's a lot more interesting for the
So
magician.
you could actually
And again,
do that
the other
way
thing,
in
I know,
Yeah.
when that people are looking for workers and things they can roll out again and again and again.
Yeah.
Amit is proof of concept here. He's out
Absolutely,
there as
yeah.
a close-up magician doing hypnosis every night. But there are other moments that you can create this for, such as getting the details in advance, getting that information weeks, months in
Yeah.
advance, that you can use just to create an absolutely propless miracle.
A miracle,
that,
yeah.
that in the right place with the right director or the right TV producer
Yeah.
is going to get you where you want.
And let's also just quickly talk in terms of hypno-peak, and when we say the term pre-show, it's not just limiting to stage work or TV work. Pre-show could be at a party in a bar when you grab
Absolutely.
someone to one
Sure,
side
yeah, yeah.
before you get into the effect, which is, I imagine, what you do quite a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't necessarily, because pre-show can be associated with specific areas of
No,
performance,
and you
but
can
this
do
is
it. You can
just
do it on the fly. I mean,
pre-show is
sometimes
just
it's
out
just
of the
a
way.
whisper. To me, it's just simply a
Right.
whisper. They're hypnotised. That there's some big action. Perhaps you've got someone doing something quite active over here,
Yeah.
and you've got somebody else hypnotised, and it's just like on stage where you drop the mic and give an extra suggestion. The audience aren't looking at you anyway.
Yeah.
So you can simply give them a suggestion at that point about what they'll think.
And the
of will
pre-show
work.
can happen
Yeah.
on the table. So
Oh,
it doesn't
really?
matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if anyone else is looking,
Yeah.
because that's all a part of the entertainment.
So it can happen actually
Can happen
in
over
real
time.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do it as part of a gag for the other way, of course, is if you're approaching tables or groups of people.
Yeah.
You can do all of this stuff.
Yes.
Not do your peak at that point, but you know who's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then when you see them going to the bar, or you're at the bar, you just kind of put your hand there.
Yeah.
Stare at the back of it.
That's what I was going to say. You know, if you're
and-
working
and-
maybe
and then
tables, this is
peek it,
really
and
practical.
then
Someone
come
comes to the
back
bar,
and catch
bang,
someone at the table,
come
yeah.
back to our table. When are you coming to our table? I'll come in a minute. Let me show you something now
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there we go.
But even if you could have done like a group,
You could have done the
and
actual
then
setup.
catch the
and-
individual,
Yeah.
and then go back to the group again. So it's
I normally do that in a pre-reception drink.
Okay.
So, if it's that kind of a party I'm
So you're
doing, or
doing that.
wedding reception,
Yeah.
do a couple of card tricks, do the set pieces.
Yeah.
I know for a fact who the good ones are and who they're not. When I go and do the table magic,
Yeah.
I can just work off from what I already know.
Great. So you can actually use it in advance, that one. So you
Yeah.
can actually, so if you're doing reception
for
at the
it.
table, just get some. Get
You know,
the
it's
setup
not like
done.
you have to do this stuff at every table.
No.
You just create a moment.
Well, it's interesting you said something like a wedding. I mean, how powerful it can be. You know, I mean, your obvious candidate would be, it'd be great if you can bosh the best man under beforehand. Imagine like at the beginning, before they go into their whole speech thing, they're just going to do one thing with him before he goes, and whatever it may be, you could do. You know, maybe you've done some peak work or some forcing, but
I've done that before.
it's
and
a great way to finish. And like you said, the pre-show it's happened just maybe earlier on during the performance. Any final comments before we wrap up on Hypno Peaks? Or we kind of pretty much covered that.
I think it's pretty straightforward. Really,
Fantastic.
isn't it? Yeah.
Hypno Peaks.
Give me a hand, take a deep breath in for me, and sleep now. Go deeper and deeper, relaxed. Every nerve, every fibre, every muscle in your body totally relaxing. Simon, this time I'm going to ask for your wallet. I want you to give me your wallet. You're not going to remember that you gave me your wallet, but I just want you to give it to me. So give me your wallet now. That's right. Go into your back pocket and just give me your wallet. That's right. And just as you continue to listen to my voice, that's right. Just continue to listen to my voice. You're just going to get even more deeper. That's right. Even more deeper with every nerve, every fibre, every muscle in your body just totally relaxing, feeling absolutely fantastic about yourself, Simon. That's right. And Simon, I'm just going to give you your wallet back. I'm going to give you your wallet back. You're going to put it back in your back pocket, and you're not going to remember from now on that you gave me your wallet. You're not going to remember at all. So good. One dripping rice. Try a bit of mind reading on you, yeah? Do you have a wallet?
Yeah.
Take it out for me. We're going to do a couple of things. I've never been into your wallet, right?
No.
No, and there's no way I can get to your wallet. So what I want you to do is just go ahead, take your credit card out for me.
Yeah.
And what I want you to do, we're going to do two things at once and see if this works, all right? See if you've got a powerful conscious and unconscious mind. What I want you to do, first of all, is concentrate on the last four numbers of your credit card. Yeah. Is there any way in the whole world I can know what the last four numbers of your credit card are? I can't. No. All right.
No.
And I know your name's Simon.
Yeah.
But what if I could guess your last name and your middle name, or the initials of your middle name?
Yeah, that'd be pretty.
All right. And we're going to try this, right? So what I want you to do is concentrate on the last four digits now.
Yeah.
And just start saying the first number in your head, not out loud, in your head. Is it 3? The last four digits on your credit card. Is it 3? Because it starts with 3.
The first number?
Yeah, first number. Last four digits and the first number.
No.
It doesn't begin with a 3. All right, good. Sleep for me. Good. Deeper and deeper down. Every nerve, every fibre, every muscle in your body, totally relaxing. This time you're not going to remember that you gave me your card. So one tip, right? All right, we're going to try again, yeah? We're going to try and mind read your card. Just concentrate on the first number.
Yeah.
Begin with 5, right? Is that cool? That's really weird. I didn't know that, did I?
Yeah.
Think of the second number now.
Right.
Is it 3? 5, 3.
Yeah.
In fact, is there 2 3s in that number? That's
Yeah.
4 digits. Is it 5, 3, 1, 3?
Yeah.
All right. Think of I don't know your surname,
How
do
did
I?
you-
I don't know. I don't know your surname, do I? Just look at your surname on the bottom of the card and concentrate on your surname. All right. Does it begin with the letter J?
Yeah.
So Simon Jones.
Yeah.
That was really cool, Simon. Thank you very much.
Right, let's now talk about reverse mind reading, which is kind of quite a popular thing since you first sort of demoed it on the course.
Yeah.
We touched on it briefly earlier, but we're going to go into some of the specifics now, the subtleties, and exactly how it works.
Yeah.
So, talk about how it kind of you set this thing up.
Right. I think I referred to it earlier as being a generative suggestion. I'm not sure if that's a real word or not, or a decent definition. But for me, what I mean when I say that is one single suggestion that can be used to generate a number of different thoughts or reveals. So, in a mind reading effect, it's really straightforward. You've got your hypnotised subject, and again, think of the seeding of the idea and germinating that seed. I am normally very open about the fact that in a moment we will do some mind reading, or later on this evening I will attempt to read your mind. I am an incredible mind reader. Now, I tend to play this up and be over the top about it, because later on I'm going to say, let's try some mind reading, and it just germinates that little idea again. So later on we're going to try some mind reading. I'm going to read your mind. Every single thing I say to you about what you're thinking or your past, the very moment I say it, you will believe that is true. You will believe that that is what you were thinking. The very moment I say it. And again, you don't have to repeat this suggestion over and over. But when things, when it really matters, it really counts, I tend to do that. I tend to compound it. And there's these ideas in hypnosis that you have to say everything 3 times. It's complete nonsense. Yeah. But there's nothing wrong with clarifying the suggestion, making it absolutely crystal. So later on we'll do some mind reading, and I'll ask you to take part in some mind reading. Every single thing I say to you about your life or what you're thinking, the very moment I say it, you'll believe it to be true. You'll believe that's what you were thinking all along. And you will be more and more amazed with every subsequent revelation. You'll have no idea where I'm getting this information from. You'll have complete amnesia for this conversation, and then we just get into it.
And that's
essentially it. And then you cause your break, you go away.
Yeah.
Come back.
Now, in terms of this, let's highlight a couple of points here, because with reverse mind reading, you could obviously present it in a very comedic way and say very ridiculous things. Yeah. But if you've done this pre-show, to make it convincing as a mind reading demonstration, what are the key things to go for with this?
Right. Okay. Well, firstly, like everything else, have a bit of a slow build. And I mean, sometimes I do this as a kind of comedic demonstration. Sometimes I do it as a demonstration, as a kind of nod to magicians. Yeah. So I'll typically, for me, it makes sense to start with something akin to cold reading. Let's try some mind reading. You've got a scar on your leg, haven't you? It's on your left knee.
Yeah.
Okay, and again, the vast majority of people have got a scar on their left
Right,
knee,
okay.
but it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter because you're going to get a nice simple hit at that point.
Yeah.
I will then get into numbers, okay, and typically, again, this is how you kind of, there's two things going on here. One is how you manage their reaction overall with that suggestion. You'll be more and more amazed with every subsequent revelation. Because you want them to start off like, I've kind of got a scar, but lots of people have got a scar on their knee. But by the end of it, you want them like, oh, geez, stop it.
Yeah.
You want to get something really strong. But the other thing about it is managing their reaction on the fly.
Right.
So, and bearing in mind that, and we'll talk about this in more detail, when someone is acting upon a post-hypnotic suggestion, in other words, they're carrying out the suggestion you've been given, they are hypnotised, whether you've re-induced them or not.
Right.
Okay, they are in a suggestible state as they carry out that post-hypnotic suggestion. So this kind of ties into the ideas about permanosis and permanently being able to give people suggestions. So I will then typically say, for lots and lots of people, if you put them on the spot, if you rush them and you ask them to think of a number between 1 and 5, they'll think of 3.
Yeah.
If they think of a number between 1 and 10, most people go for 7. You were thinking of 7, were you not?
Yeah, and you're getting another. Yeah.
And whenever when you've given the reverse mind reading suggestion, the moment you clearly state something, you were thinking of 7, were you not? They agree.
Right.
Right. So that's one thing. Is kind of so. Let's try a number between 1 and 100. Just think of any number between 1 and 100. Change your mind a couple of times. You've got one right now. It's a 2-digit number, isn't it? It's bang.
Yeah.
22. So that then they're starting to feel the punch, but it's still nothing personal.
No.
Right. So it's not. They're not particularly emotionally involved in this. It's still a bit of a puzzle, albeit.
Yeah,
You appear to be
there
getting
still might be the thing of, does everyone think of 22?
Yeah, exactly.
You know
So,
what I mean?
so that's another thing. So, you can think of any word. Some people do their word reveals in a certain way. Some people will tie drawings into it and that kind of thing. But I tend to then get into something to do with a memory.
Okay.
And it could be, think of a photograph from your childhood, something that hung around in the house. It may be still there in your parents' home or something, but a photograph that if you saw it again, you'd know that this is a family photograph and that it represents a particular day in childhood. You got one?
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting 2 colours. Lots of green, lots of blue. This is outside, isn't it? This is a photograph of you outside. And there's someone else there, you're playing. In fact, you're camping. I can see tents around.
Yeah.
This is when you went to, Newquay on that camping trip when you were 6 years old, isn't it?
Which is
Bang.
great because, you're building it so also for people watching, there is no reason for them not to believe that is a childhood photo. Do you know that that's not something that they can...
Of course it's not. And that
so
person
it's absolutely
absolutely
believable, and they
believes it.
absolutely kind of clarify that is the truth.
Yeah. Another subtlety is to get the miss, and we kind of touched on this earlier, but let's talk about it again. So when you are, let's say for example, we've done a scar on the left knee, and I was to say, obviously this is when you were younger, this happened when you were a child, and if I was to then take a guess, right, and say, I'm not sure if it was falling off a bike or it was falling off a wall. Was it falling off a wall? Right, because I've introduced this little bit of doubt, and it's now 50-50, and you've already mentally committed to something.
To either the bike or the
right?
wall.
You won't feel any objection to saying, no, it was falling off my bike actually. Right, it was falling off your bike, but there was somebody else there, and then just carry on.
And then just carry on. So
the
that
reverse.
slightly gives it that really believable sense.
I mean, just say this. There's a couple of clips on YouTube. I don't need to refer people to YouTube, but there's a couple of clips of this on there. One of which is done by a friend of mine. He did some training with me. He's a Scottish magician, mentalist, and hypnotist. His name's Bob Burns.
Yeah.
And I think it's called Bob Burns Mind Reading.
Okay.
And he has combined reverse mind reading with pre-show for a piece he did on the radio. And it's incredibly strong.
Very good.
It is incredibly strong because the DJ introduces the assistant, and Bob asked him an open question, just to kind of put it out in the open. Like, just to be honest about this, I did ask Scott one question. I asked him to think of someone, and I asked him if it was a man or a woman, because sometimes this can fall flat. And he said it's a man. Is that okay, Scott? So this is another kind of subtlety, because you've essentially shut this guy down. You probably can't remember the hypnotic process anyway, if you've done your amnesia correctly, but he's also just shut down. It's one of those things where you just get the person to say yes about something that is true, and then you get into it. So he goes through it. it is one of the cleanest bits of mind reading I've ever. It's the cleanest bit of mind
It's
reading I've
very,
heard
very
on,
direct.
on radio. But he gets the mistake. He's gone through a dozen or more revelations, and he says, and you step out, you turn around, it's a blue car. I'm not sure if it's a Peugeot or a Volkswagen. I'll take a guess it's a Peugeot, and the guy says, no, it's a Volkswagen.
Right.
You know,
so
it's like, bang, 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 and gets back
And
into
then
where
gets
that
back
car
into it,
is
yeah.
and what holiday he was on.
it's
So
a very subtle mistake as well. It's not like when you refer to the mistake, it's either this or this, and you get that wrong. It's not like all of a sudden you deliberately get something really wrong. Like
No, yeah.
and then all of a sudden you get everything right again. This is
Yeah.
very subtle, but it just amplifies that believability factor.
Yeah.
for
But like
people
all
watching.
mentalism, if you go wrong a little bit, it plays bigger.
There seems to be this kind of almost like
Yeah,
an artistic license with
sure.
mentalism that if it
I mean, I don't have
doesn't
hard and
hit-
fast rules about that, to
No.
be honest. You know, I don't think you have to miss in every effect
No,
to,
of course
to
not.
convince it. But in this kind of thing, it works really well because it's real for the person it's happening to.
Yes.
You know, as you're describing the photograph or the holiday, their mind is just catching up. It's
Yeah.
just like one beat behind, but it's catching up, and they're giving what. You know, and they're feeling this growing sense of amazement and wonder
Yeah.
as it happens. So,
Well,
yeah.
what I was going to say is I just want to come back to the idea of managing reaction on the fly.
Yeah,
Is
okay.
it some people when they're carrying out a posting suggestion don't have the amazing reaction that they're having might not be coming out on their face or
So more of an internal reaction. As
Yeah.
opposed to
yeah.
a
So
visual.
so you could sort of say say I was doing it on Amit and I've revealed 3 or 4 things.
Yeah.
And he's kind of going yes.
He's not impressed.
Yeah, and it's not, and it's kind of you're getting your yeses, but they're not
Yeah.
like they're
It's not like the big reaction that you really want if you're
Then you
doing
can
it as a
sort of say,
performance piece.
how do you think that's come about? And they're sort of like, well, I don't know. Maybe you've sort of like researched it. Maybe you've looked. Maybe someone's told you, and it's kind of like, well, bear in mind, we haven't obviously set any of this up, but would it be amazing if I could
Yeah.
tell you X, Y, Z and get them to commit
To
a
be
reaction
amazed,
to it?
yeah.
And you might sort of say it will be really amazing.
That would be amazing. Would it
when
not?
I-
You kind
Would
of
it not? That
throw-
would be amazing, would
throw
it
in the
not?
tag
And that's a
question.
very good point that he's made there.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you sort of noticed that, but delivering the suggestion while you're sort of taking a little bit of control.
Just
all
taking
I'm
back
just
a bit of
wobbling a
control.
little bit, yeah, and just and obviously a lot of people use this in pseudo trance,
Absolutely.
in suggestion,
Yeah.
kind of mentalism. But you're doing it for real. You are actually delivering.
Because
that
they're
The
suggesting-
person they are, it is very, very real when you're
Yeah.
doing this.
Sure.
It does
Yeah.
feel absolutely completely.
So there's no excuse for someone to do reverse mind reading badly.
Yeah.
Just crack
And
on.
you've had it
build
done
up.
yourself, so you know exactly
I
how
have,
it
yeah.
feels.
It does. It's a very strange thing, but it doesn't matter what it may be. And the stuff that we did on the course was quite ludicrous. And that's an example of
Or if Chris Harding wearing a red thong is ludicrous.
Yeah, exactly.
Or that Peter.
But your response to that was you normally wear. I said you normally wear boxer shorts, but today you tried something different. You're wearing a red thong.
Yeah.
And your response was, "Did you see when I bent down?"
And that's what it is. It feels so real, and in a comedic sense, it's absolutely brilliant because people watching going, "This is really, really funny." If you were to do that, say, if you've done pre-show with reverse mind reading, you run the danger of killing the illusion that you are reading mind because.
Absolutely.
If you're doing this group of friends, know that he's not from there.
Yeah,
or he
yeah,
says
yeah.
that. So by going through this progressive thing, like you say, building up with this number, then going into a word, then this photo, like something as personal as a photograph, you're going to get a very emotional hook.
Yeah.
And even if these are people that say this person you're doing it on, they've known for years, they've got no point of reference to know whether that photograph
Yeah,
really
that's-
existed or not. They can't. They just have to assume because that person.
That is
so
a really
convinced by
good
it.
sort of powerful point.
Sure.
The other suggestion you can give to them when you set this up, or you clean up afterwards and awaken them for real, is to say you won't be able to remember any of the things that were revealed, but you will know that you've had your mind read.
Yeah.
So later on when people say,
And that it was amazing.
yeah, and that it was amazing. So later on they'll say, well, what did he tell you? And it was just like, I don't know, it was just stuff about my family
Yeah.
and pictures. They won't have anything specific to say.
No.
They'll just say,
But they'll
I had
just
my
know
mind
that
read.
they've
It
had
was
their mind read
amazing.
and it was brilliant.
Yeah.
Now with this, how long, once you get into this, how long can this run for? I mean, can it run indefinitely? I mean, could you sit there for like 2 hours, keep going
Yeah.
this?
Of course you
Of
can.
course you can.
But is there a danger of it, to use the word,
Of
like
it
crashing?
collapsing.
If it
Well,
collapses
yeah,
at some
sometimes it
point,
does.
is, there,
I mean,
is that
yeah,
possible? I mean,
sometimes it crashes. Sometimes it's going along. Sometimes they have got a scar on their left knee, and it did
Yeah.
happen because of a bicycle accident. And sometimes it can just crash out. This happened to me last night. I got 3 or 4 reveals, and then for some reason it crashed out on the word.
Yeah.
And from there, you have choices again. You can just put the person in. Don't be phased by it. Just put the person back in
Yeah.
and get on with your work, or just let's try something else and.
Because you're a magician, get out
whatever it is
something
you'd
else,
want
yeah.
to do, and just move on.
But
Because
that does go for any routine.
Yeah.
It can
Yeah.
crash out, but like we spoke about earlier, just wash them back
But-
in and
But again, you
do
can
it again.
kind of insure against it a little bit. When you do set up the reverse mind reading suggestion and they're in a trance, you can say, you stay in a trance, you stay just as deep as you are, but you can speak, and then you can quickly bang through 3 or 4 reverse
of
mind
information,
reading
yeah.
kind of like reveals, which no one else is really going to see because this is your pre-show work essentially, and convince yourself that it works and it's there.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it doesn't work at that point,
Just do something else.
either
Do
work
something
harder
else.
or do something else. Indeed.
Yeah. And the
Uh,
advantage is for a magician, though, isn't it? Like we discussed just in between this. If that does happen, you have got the advantage. You go, well, I tell you, let's try something a bit more different. Here's
Yeah.
some cards, shuffle these, or
Yeah,
and get
just
into
get into
something
what
else.
you
You're at an
normally do.
advantage as
Invisible
a
deck.
magician. Yeah, go into something like an invisible deck. You are at an advantage as a performer, as a magician, a mentalist, that you have got a backup. But I think in knowing that you've got that backup, you're going to be much more confident in the deliverance of it initially, so there is less likely it's going to fail because you know in the back of your mind you've got this backup. So you're
you
less,
go- you
you're
go
less
into it
nervous
more
about it. You
confident.
know that you've confidence. you
And
know
this is
you're
all
gonna
about
do it.
making magic easier. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
let's not make it hard work.
No, let's make it complex.
And that's a good point. Easier, but stronger.
Yeah, stronger. Reverse mind reading is such a great routine, and I know you do it a lot, and I think people watching should get out there and try that because I think
just test it out.
and just test it out and see what happens. I mean, unless you had it done to you, or you've seen it done, or you've done it, you don't really realise how good it is. I mean, you'll see the live stuff of you guys doing it on here, but there's nothing like sort of standing there and doing it on someone. It must be very kind of, it's almost
Yeah.
a godlike power because you are doing exactly what and for them, like you say, it is very, very real. It's very real, this word. And for other people around, there is absolutely nothing. Nothing has been written down.
Yeah.
You haven't introduced a book. Think of a word here. You are literally going through this as
Absolutely.
it
And
would look.
again, as we've said, remember the kind of, I'm not saying you have a mic, but the off-mic control of just,
Yeah.
this is going to be even more amazing.
Yes.
Just drop those little suggestions.
Just
This
keep
is going to blow your
tagging them
mind
in.
this time.
And you can be blatant with those
Yeah,
suggestions.
you can. This is going
if
to
you
blow
wanna
your
be.
mind. But let's try something. You can be overt, covert. It doesn't matter. But understand they're permanently suggestible
Yeah,
while they're going through this process. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
So is that pretty much we've covered. There's that reverse mind. Is there anything else you want to say from experience of it? I mean, you do it a lot. I mean, do you find it must be. It is a crowd pleaser, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Reverse mind reading. Is there a certain point during perhaps a session of hypnosis where you should get into reverse mind reading, or could you literally do your testing and then get
yeah,
do
you
reverse
can.
mind
As soon
reading
as
your
you're
first thing?
as soon as you're confident, this person's hypnotised and responding to your suggestions.
Yeah.
And again, everyone gets there through different ways. For me, when I've got amnesia, I'm pretty happy to go in any other direction.
Yeah.
And for others, you can just get into this stuff straight off the bat
Yeah.
after you've done your induction. But my preference is to set the amnesia because I want to make sure that they forget the setup. But
Yeah.
again, some people will spontaneously do that. Some people, it wouldn't occur to them to mention it anyway. They're just going to find themselves in the post-hypnotic act. They're going
Absolutely.
to, so.
Fantastic reverse mind reading. Anthony, let's talk about hallucinations.
I'm going to talk about hallucinations.
Grudgingly, yes.
Okay. What I'd like you to do is place both your hands on your legs, if you would.
Me.
Yes,
Right.
that's right. And just look right here underneath one of my eyes. Don't need to say anything. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Go deeper, deeper, deeper down again, just deeper to sleep. Deeper than before. Let go. Completely now and go into that place of hypnosis. Into that place where your imagination expands. Your inhibitions disappear. Into that place where every single thing I say to you becomes your reality. You know what I say, you know, you see what I say, you can see. You see what I say, you can see. You hear what I say, you hear. However stupid or silly or ridiculous it seems. That's right. In a moment, when I say the words 1, 2, wide awake, your eyes will open. But you will no longer be able to see me or anything I am wearing. You'll no longer be able to see me. I'll be gone, vanished, invisible. You'll no longer be able to see me or anything I am wearing. However close I am to you, however distant I am, you will not be able to see me. Your head will nod when that's been understood and accepted. That's right, just for a time I'll be gone, vanished, completely invisible. 1, 2, wide awake.
So, Chris,
Yeah.
what do you know about hallucinations?
Well, it's not something I know huge amounts about. I understand that it's a post-hypnotic type of thing.
Okay.
In what way do we...
What?
Nothing.
Do you like it?
In what way do we use, like, the... In what way
You're
does
right.
it-
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Have you seen my IT reel?
In what way do... Okay, what's happening here?
Just a bit more powerful than normal, that's all. It's just... Watch. You watch, you've seen something like this, haven't you?
Yeah. Have you seen that? How...
Is that mad?
Yeah.
Um,
In a moment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clap my hands. I'm going to reappear in a puff of smoke.
Right. It's getting quite heavy.
Now, let me try something with you. Okay, I'd like you to just give these cards a shuffle. Yeah, give them a shuffle.
Okay.
And just stop anywhere you want. Now just think of a card. Think of any card.
Yeah.
don't think of the 3 of diamonds.
Think of a card. Yeah. Now, when you turn that card over, you'll realise that that is the card you thought of. You'll see it there. You'll be amazed. Turn it over. Is that the card you're thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get rid of all the rest. Just turn that face down on your hand. Like that. Face on your hand. Just look at the back of it. Okay, now just think of any other card at all, and name it out loud.
4 of clubs.
The 4 of clubs. When you turn that over, all you're going to see is the 4 of clubs. You'll be astonished.
Oh.
Turn it over.
That's
Show
great.
the camera.
That's great. Fantastic.
Let's try it one more time.
Okay. Yep. Think of a different one.
Think of a different card.
Free choice.
Go on.
Yeah.
You're trying to fool me. I know you've gone something a bit strange. Have you gone for a black card this time?
Yeah.
I've got to say.
Yeah.
What card have you gone for?
King of Spades.
The King of Spades. You turn it over, all you're going to see is the King of Spades. You'll be bowled over by this. You're going to want to know where you can get it. That is the King of Spades. That's all you're going to see. Turn it over.
Oh, that's great. Again. we got to explain this. Great.
I tell you what, just look at me again. Yeah, that's right. Close your eyes. That's right. Sleep. Sleep. Deeper. 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 That's right. That's right. Deeply to sleep. Deeply to sleep. Now, when I say 1, 2, wide awake, again, you'll be completely suggestible. You'll no longer believe you're hypnotised, but you'll be absolutely, entirely suggestible, however oblique, however indirect my suggestions are. 1, 2, wide awake. You haven't got a coin on you, anyone? Has anyone got a coin?
I haven't got a coin, no.
Oh, I've got some.
Yeah.
Emptied my pockets out. Safety.
Just make sure that's a regular coin.
Yeah?
Yeah, just put your initials on it if you would.
Okay.
Show it to the camera.
Good. Now, give me the pen back and take hold of that coin in your fist. Right. Close your eyes and concentrate on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tap your fist with this pen, and you're going to feel that coin start to heat up. It's going to start to get warmer and warmer and warmer. Every tap it will get twice as hot until it becomes very hot, until it really does start to get extremely hot, and you're going to feel it almost start to burn. It's not actually going to mark your skin badly, but it's going to start to get incredibly, incredibly hot. It's going to start to feel uncomfortably hot. You're going to feel it. You can barely hold on to it, but I want you to do your best. But when it just gets too much, when it's just too hot, you're going to have to just let go of it. It's going to get so hot, so uncomfortable, so unbearable.
Oh.
Did you feel that? It's strange, isn't it? This is still your coin. Just take hold of it. It's cooled down a bit now. That's right, it's okay. It's cooled down a bit now. Now close your eyes. Close your eyes. That's right. And you're going to feel this cooling down now. You're going to feel it cooling down, getting colder, like a cold coin that's been left somewhere extremely cold. But this is going to get colder than that. This is going to get more and more cold, freezing, uncomfortably cold, absolutely uncomfortable. It is freezing. You know, that kind of temperature when something's so cold that you can't hold onto it. It's freezing, absolutely unbearably cold. You're going to feel like a sharp pain going through that hand up your arm. You feel that, can you not?
Mm.
Yeah, crazy.
That's horrible.
It is indeed. Put your hand on your leg. Yeah, that hand's going to start to feel great now. It's going to feel wonderful. It's going to feel fantastic. That's right. Now, close your eyes. Sleep again. I'm going to count to 5, and on 5 you'll be wide awake and alert. You'll have no memory of being hypnotised, but you will remember a fantastic effect with a hot and cold coin. It was a borrowed coin, it was a signed coin, it got hot and it got cold in your hand. That's right. So 1, every muscle, nerve and fibre. In fact, before we do that, let's try one more thing. I'm going to ask you to open your eyes again. That's right, just take hold of that coin one more time. And I want you to just hold it up here, not with your closed fist, but just look at it. Just look at the coin, look at your signature on the coin. And as you look at it, you're going to feel that coin, you're going to see it start to bend. Right in front of your eyes, you're going to see it start to, almost like it's starting to get soft and melt. You're going to see that coin start to bend, start to curve up. When you can see it bending right in front of your face, again, let me know. I mean, how crazy is that?
That's mad.
It's absolutely mental, isn't it? And watch this. When I clip my fingers, it's going to straighten out again. It's just going to go ping. It's going to straighten out. Bang, and you're going to see the coin completely straight in your hand.
That's brilliant.
Okay, close your eyes and sleep now. Sleep, 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 sleep. Deeper sleep. 1, every muscle, nerve, fibre becoming live, everything back to normal now. 2, feel a surge of energy pouring in through your fingers and your toes. You're going to wake up, everything back to normal, all those silly suggestions gone. 3, take a deep breath in, Chris, fill your chest up with energy, giving oxygen. 4, your head's being washed through with cool spring water, your eyes clear, nose clear, throat clear, chest clear, stomach clear. 5, eyes open and wide awake. Do you remember that coin effect?
Yeah. Excellent. Let's talk about it.
So, hallucinations, just think of any sense, bear in mind what we said about reality. We only ever have one version of reality at once, and we believe in it wholeheartedly. So, when you make someone hallucinate, you're just shifting one belief. Understanding that reality is plastic.
How
that
difficult
their
is that to
senses
do?
are plastic. You need a somnambulist. You need someone who's a good subject.
What's a somnambulist?
A somnambulist is a good subject. This
Right.
is just someone who can get into hypnosis to the degree that all of their beliefs, all of their senses are entirely plastic, are entirely malleable. So that can be done in real time. And again, there I've induced you. You could just as easily do that with someone who's as good as you with permanosis, just by giving the suggestion.
Really just believing it.
Yeah, and
confidently.
use the usual things that we know are there, the physiological things. We know they're going to feel a pulse. We know it's going to feel warm if they concentrate on the inside of their hand.
Right.
Still use that stuff, but then build upon that to the point where, they throw it to the floor or, or anything else.
And understand that when we talk about somnambulism or a somnambulist, we're not measuring people on any sort of scale as mentioned
Right.
in the first part
Yeah,
of this.
yeah.
We're not spotting people and kind of going, oh, that person looks like there might be. It's more a definition that we've got so far with them,
Right.
that they can hallucinate in the way that you can.
Right.
That to us means, oh, you're somnambulist, but it's kind of just a definition of something that we.
So with hallucination, you can do some quite powerful effects, I guess. You know, aside from the more well-known
Well, did you like the
hypnosis
card
effects.
effect?
Yeah.
Do you know
Great.
Did you realise how that was done? Do you realise now how that might be done?
I guess it is. I'm guessing it's hallucination because that's what we're talking about.
Definitely.
But what could you see?
You can see what
You can
card
see the
did.
card you just thought.
Yeah.
You know, so there's no limit on this. You can make things invisible. You can make yourself invisible.
Sure.
You can make somebody else invisible. So you can have an invisible assistant
Right.
as a magician. I mean, that's quite handy. Because they can
Yeah.
move things around. You can make things float. You can levitate.
Absolutely.
You know, make a chair invisible
Mm.
and stand on it. And, you know, they'll be looking for the wires.
You've done that to me before, haven't you?
Remember that?
Yeah. I do
Um,
remember that.
But with hallucinations, again, it's kind of the heavier end of the phenomena, I guess.
Right.
You have positive hallucinations where someone is essentially seeing or sensing something that isn't there. You have negative hallucinations, you know, typically invisibility or that kind of stuff. You could have it so someone can't taste something or can taste something or anything. All their senses are wide open. They could smell the worst smell. They could be reminded by something of a memory. And again, you can cue people with these hallucinations by associating that with a smell, with
Right.
essential oil, with a picture that's
Yeah.
on your hand, so that immediately they can start to see that thing again.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, so with you mentioned briefly, it's kind of at the more in-depth end of
Yeah.
this stuff. With a hallucination, if you were doing this, maybe you were doing some hypnosis and some magic, would you do quite a few things before you tried a hallucination, or is it?
Yeah, I just
is
get
it
a
really
sense.
down to your own
sure,
kind of
I get a sense for
confidence?
someone is good and they're
Yeah.
taking all my suggestions. Then, you know, again, I know it may seem slightly non-magic related and closer aligned to stage hypnosis, but a big hallucination that you've got, you know, a giant ox sitting opposite you, or
Sure.
a rhinoceros, is going to make people move. It's going to make them run around a room
Yeah.
unless you tell them that they're not going to. You don't want to lose people and have them running out the door.
No, of course not. No.
You know, but you know, it's yes, there are magic applications, but it's just as magical that
Yeah.
words are making somebody see things and sense things that are
Absolutely.
no longer there.
Yeah, I agree.
This is a superpower. You
Yeah.
are invisible, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, you don't really have to tie it into a magical
No,
presentation.
you could just actually do this
because
as a separate
This is
thing.
the real
This is-
stuff. Now.
yeah.
You know, this really is. You can tie it into voodoo routines. You can,
Sure.
you know, you can do something negative. Again, I wouldn't want to take that too far
No.
because there are enough anecdotal reports that will burn your skin.
Yeah.
That it can blister. Again, I haven't done that. I'd kind of like to do that to someone because if you can suggest a burn, suggest a blister, you
Right.
can suggest it away. But you know, health and safety first. I'm not here to harm people. or
Absolutely.
give them a really nasty experience. But that kind of thing, it will get to the point where you just can't hold it anymore.
Yeah.
It's unbearable enough. You can make it good again. So, yeah, there's a bit on it. And in terms of giving a suggestion, include it in your super suggestion. You'll see what I say you see. I said that a few times
That's-
there.
yeah.
You'll see absolutely what I say you
That's
see.
what we went over yesterday, the super
Yeah,
suggestion,
so
wasn't
we
it?
kind of went over that. Just channel it in that direction, need be. And then give the direction very, very simply. There I was still kind of plate spinning, keeping that suggestion going. Every time I
Right.
tap you with this pen, it's going to get twice as hot, you know. But again, that can be slightly veiled and slightly
Yeah.
hidden.
I mean, just for the viewers at home, how did that feel for you when you got hallucinated and you couldn't see Ant?
It's really odd because it's almost just like he's just not there. It was just like it's just not there. And we just sort of carry on. It didn't really enter into my head that he's disappeared. So he just wasn't there. That's how it
Yeah.
feels. You know, you don't all of a sudden.
I mean, one thing
bang.
you can do is just say, I'm a fantastic magician. When I click my fingers, I'll disappear. Right in front of your eyes,
Yeah.
I'll disappear. I'll click them again, I'll reappear in a puff of smoke.
And you spoke earlier when
Yeah.
we were chatting about the way to test if you made yourself invisible was to move.
Yeah,
in
for
front of
me,
the
that's
person.
always been the easiest way. And that normally I'm standing or sitting directly opposite the
Yeah.
person. They open their eyes, and I'll just move that much. And just like your head followed me there,
Yeah.
it's the natural, normal thing to do. If they don't follow you at all, you know they can't
You
see
know
you.
they can't
I mean,
see.
you can bang, you know, you can do that, and if they don't flinch,
Yeah.
they don't move, you know, then that's a pretty good sign. I mean,
Sure.
you'll see, you know, do that in someone's
Mm.
face. I didn't give you a suggestion that you'll still be able to hear me, but obviously you can.
Mm.
But if I say, you know, you won't be able to hear me unless I intend for you to, then
Right.
again you can talk to other people. You know, you can't see me right now,
Yeah.
and get into it that way. But you know, again, just bear in mind that although it's going to seem entirely normal to that person, it can be quite alarming when things start floating around the room
Yeah.
of their own accord.
Sure.
And
Yeah, just manage that
just
reaction.
Be responsible with it
appropriately.
as well.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
you know,
But that's hallucinations. I think.
hallucinations. We've spoken a lot about using the putting someone in hypnosis as pre-show, and using that, say, in the context of perhaps reverse mind reading that. What we need to cover, I think, in relation to that is how do you bring them out of it again in a covert manner, so that's not to, you know, if you're using hypnosis disguised in a disguised way, so you don't want people to know that he was hypnotised, you want them to go with the whole routine you've done. How's the best way to bring them out of this?
Well, there's a number of different ways to do it, and there's different things you want to consider. I mean, I understand that not just the general public, but you know, amongst magicians, there's often one of two kind of views about hypnosis. One is that, you know, it's all just made up and they're just playing along. But the other, which kind of pervades, is that when someone's hypnotised, they will do anything.
Right.
And in a way, if you believe that, which is kind of true, I guess that's close to what I believe, then, and you imagine that other people also have that view, then you might think, well, if people think they're hypnotised, then they'll believe they'll do anything. So it kind of takes away from the magic. You wouldn't want it to be seen as one of your methods. A guy who's learnt my approach to it does ghost walks and seance-y type things in, you know, haunted buildings. And that was one of his questions. He really wants to use it and use the phenomena, but it's like, well, how do I hide it? You know, and he understood how to pre-show, but he still felt this responsibility to wake them up.
Absolutely.
Right? Which again, my personal view is if I do that kind of work with someone, even if I then send them back to their seat or I leave them, I will leave them with a suggestion that later on they'll come and find me and I will wake them up. Okay?
Yeah.
And we'll go through this kind of sequence, in which case I just do a full wake up. But that if I was to give someone a post-hypnotic suggestion that later on today when I say the word lift, your arm will just shoot up into the air, you won't know why, it will drift back down to your lap again. And later on that day I was to give them that suggestion. You know, bear in mind, I've given the suggestions, the post-hypnotic suggestion, and I've woken them up with amnesia for all of that. And then later on I say the word lift and their arm shoots in the air. Yes, I believe that they enter that trance again when their arm goes up. When it comes back down again, everything's back to normal. They can get back on with their day. All right, it's just my preference is kind of belts and braces approach. I would prefer ultimately to zap them again and do
bring
my
them
full
out,
wake up.
full wake up like we described.
But if I wasn't going to do that, if I thought this person was going to walk off stage and I may not see him again, that kind of scenario, then I would ensure that the wake up procedure was built into the completion of the post-hypnotic act.
Okay.
And when your hand is and you walk off stage, everything will be back to normal. The same kind of suggestion that I'd give in a stage hypnosis setup, I'll say, should the fire alarm go off or we need to leave the building for any other reason, the moment you walk out the door, everything will be back to normal. All the suggestions will be gone and you'll be perfectly fit and capable of looking after yourself. So I've said that. I mean, unfortunately, a fire alarm has never gone off in that scenario, but I feel confident that if we had to leave in a hurry, they would be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So one way of hiding it is to sew the wake up and the back to normal stuff, associate that with the completion of this post-hypnotic act.
Okay.
Yeah. Or of leaving the performance area.
Yeah.
If that's the kind of situation you're working in. Another way to do it is to it's kind of as part of your act to give them something else. You've done brilliantly. Let me show you a little technique that you can take away from here this evening because you've done so well. A way that you can feel absolutely brilliant. Just close your eyes for a moment, and then give them some gentle deconditioning, which is in fact a veiled wake up.
Yeah.
You're not talking about suggestions.
So this has
and-
been done quite openly. So
Yeah,
if you were
so
doing,
this
so like
is-
if you were doing this maybe in a table situation, you would just do it at the table.
Sure,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
kind of like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wake up.
Yeah.
It's designed to give them all this energy and make them feel great and
Yeah,
get
it's like
them
you
in
said,
the-
throw in
you know,
positives.
so you kind of, if you put it to them as, you've been really great, I want to give you something.
When you've been influenced in this way, it's important that we
Yes.
put everything back to normal. Perhaps that you've made them the mind reader.
Mm.
It's important that everything's back to normal. Let me just do something with you. Some people might call this a self-hypnosis technique. Well, let me show this very simple breathing
Yeah.
technique that you can take away, and it'll be something you can use forever. Close your eyes for me, and then just give them some positives, and essentially do a wake up.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be bang, bang, bang.
And-
But
oh, shit.
you don't have to mention hypnosis or waking up even.
Right.
Just positive suggestions about how they're going to feel, and they will understand.
Or just squeezing their fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
but positive suggestions, not therapy. So
Yeah,
it is
absolutely.
just, you're going to feel great.
Sure.
You'll have the best day you've ever had. You'll sleep wonderfully
Yeah.
tonight.
And when people ask you about this experience, just say it was incredible. And of course,
You definitely need to book this guy.
That's it. And the great thing is, even if because you've done whatever you may have done in your pre-show and you've done amnesia, they say, why did you do that? Were you hypnotised? You go, no, absolutely not.
Yeah,
And
no, I could hear
that's-
everything you
Yeah, I
said.
could hear everything you said. No, I wasn't
Yeah.
hypnotised at all.
So again, when I've done stuff, I've done quite a bit of stuff. A couple of different TV companies that involves going into a shop, either overtly being a hypnotist or just unannounced hypnotising the person, and,
Right.
and it normally involves leaving with goods from the shop or getting them to
Yeah.
kind of do some kind of something that is going to help me. So I'll walk out in the suit, and the fact is, after we've got the shot and I've stolen what I wanted to steal, or got the food I wanted, or the drinks I wanted, I go back in and say, yeah, that was great, thanks, bang, get them back in again,
Yeah.
and do a full wake up. That's
Yeah.
my personal preference, but you can hide it, and there's a few ideas about how you can do that.